Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back to Wall Street Silver. Joining us today is our good friend, Egon von Greyerz. He is the founder and managing partner of Matterhorn Asset Management and Gold Switzerland based in Zurich. Egon, welcome back.
Thank you, Armin, and hello, Jim. Good to see you both.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure having you back on, Egon. You said in a prior interview that 2022 will be an epic moment for investors. So do you see from where we are right now another 20-30% drop in the stock market, Egon?
Yes, clearly, fundamentally markets are in bubble territory and have been for a long time. But when we talk about a fall of that magnitude, I mean that is a technical forecast which makes it easy to time market. And technicals aren't always right either. Of course, it would be too easy. But nevertheless, there are very clear indications that the next drop is imminent. So the risk is very high that we see in the next, let's say, between now and October sometime. In fact, we could see up to a 30% fall. Now, it makes no difference to me because I wouldn't touch stock markets because I think they are a massive risk. So you should stay out of them. But for anybody who is in it, and of course, everybody is in the stock market because that's where all the investors are. And they're not going to get out. They're going to stay in, and they're going to hope for the same support from central banks and the same printing packages and all of that, lower interest rates. It's not going to happen this time. Central banks are now totally clear that the interests now they're going to fight inflation. And they're always wrong anyway. They're always behind the curve, but they are going to continue. I'm absolutely convinced to increase interest rates dramatically. I think it will be like in the 70s, which I experienced in the UK.
Really?
Where we had about average 15% inflation for 8 years, I think. And I think there's no reason why interest rates don't even go higher than in the 70s because the situation is much more dire and is global. It's not just in one country. And remember, there's one thing using interest rates to fight inflation, and therefore where they're going to go up. But there's another thing that we're going to get a lot of defaults. And that will be in both sovereign debt and in private debt, of course. Before we get to the defaults, there'll be the market will start worrying about risk. Those worries will make interest rates go up because, who the hell wants to put money into German bonds and earn zero or negative or into US bonds earn a couple of percent or UK bonds or whatever country, when the risk is astronomical. And they say that sovereigns never default. Well, they do. Even if they don't officially default, they default by destroying the currency. And that's what's going to happen. We've got as I've said time and time again, we've seen a 99% fall in all the currencies since 1971, and the final 1 to 3% will happen now in the next few years. And as I also say often, that 100%, that 1 to 3% fall is 100% from here, and that's going to happen to all the currencies. It doesn't matter. Dollar is temporarily stronger. It shouldn't be, but it is because of technical reasons. Euro is now getting the hit, and pound is weak. But they're all going to come down because that is the only way to reflect the destruction of the economy. It's the currency tells you, because the people never understand that. Then they think prices are going up. They're not.
What you just mentioned, the British pound, that's the latest news, the latest currency that seems like it's about to have major problems. They just got a new prime minister, Liz Truss is her name. And the first thing she announced was 130 billion pounds bailout for consumers and another 40 billion pound bailout for businesses for their energy bills for the next few months. They're not fixing any of the energy policies. They're just printing more pounds to subsidize energy bills. I mean, this is the equivalent of if the United States did, over $1 trillion in subsidies to pay people's bills. Is this just sort of more of this plays into what you just said, correct? They're going to debase their currencies in the short term to fool the population that they're doing something.
Yes, sadly, we're getting into now an era for the world when no single individual will have enough money to pay for the inflation that we're all experiencing, and that's food inflation, of course, and energy inflation, and inflation and everything else. And so governments now, obviously, that they know that people can't afford it. They know that they will create riots or civil unrest if people don't have money, and therefore now and they know that no single individual can pay for these increases of thousands and thousands of dollars and pounds in just energy, and consequently there and of course the people will tell them, you have to help us, you have to help us. And of course here stands the government. They're always there, more money, 130 billion there for, as you say, energy for private individuals. US the same. In Europe it's similar everywhere now. Energy companies have to be subsidized by getting credit lines from governments to because the energy companies can't survive either. And what nobody asks, of course, ever when you have these enormous amounts in play, where is the money coming from? Nobody asks either where is the hundreds of billions coming from that goes to Ukraine, for example. Right. So we have a lot of problems around the world that are going to unravel, and there'll be just one after the next. I think anyone who runs for government today or wants to be prime minister of the UK or president of the US, they're absolute fools. They don't know what hell they're going to go through in the next few years. Yeah. And you take the UK, this is now, again, this was the conservative leader. Obviously, it was the Conservatives themselves that elected the leader because of Boris Johnson being pushed out. I can bet you that they can have an orangutan running, and he would win, or she, whatever.
Orangutans are lovely creatures. Lovely creatures.
Yeah, exactly. What I'm saying is, that the governments are not voted in; they're voted out. And of course, with the trouble I see in the next few years, the Conservatives, they have no chance in hell surviving however much money they print and try to support the people.
You just mentioned the governments being voted out because of all the chaos in the world. And there's an upcoming election in Italy next month or later this month, I believe. And I know you're in Switzerland, right next door to Italy there.
Yeah.
Salvini, who's one of the leaders of he's out of power right now, but he's one of the primary leaders of the opposition in the conservative right-wing side.
Yeah, it's the league. Yeah, yeah.
He just sort of broke with what everyone's been saying in Europe, and he's like, end the energy sanctions with Russia because we're on our knees. He says, and I read the full article. It's on my link. It's on Zero Hedge, and his argument is the way the sanctions are designed, it's hurting Europe more than it's really hurting Russia. So why are we still doing this?
Right.
I guess that's sort of the common sense question a lot of people are asking, but the politicians up until now have refused to even broach this subject for some reason. And maybe it takes a few governments falling before they get their heads out of their butts and they start actually doing some common sense. Politicians, their main goal is to get reelected, right?
Yeah.
If a few of them start losing, maybe we'll start seeing some changes. What do you think?
Well, they're mad. The politicians are madder than usual, and there is not a single statesman in the world today, and that includes the latest UK Prime Minister, Liz Truss. She said a few months ago in connection with the Ukraine war that Russia should be pushed out of Ukraine and also over Crimea. and it's which is a ridiculous statement. But they are, and obviously wars are terrible, whoever conducts them. But the Ukrainian war is just continuing with billions and hundreds of billions being sent by US, Europe, every country in the North America and in the Western world. Not obviously not in Asia, not in South America or South or Africa,
right.
But and there is no attempt from anyone in the West to start negotiating for a peace. Russia is not going to lose this war. Take my word for it. They're not going to lose it. Sure, if they get all of NATO against them, it's going to be a lot tougher. But then remember, we have China standing there and having promised to support Russia. And the West knows that. That's why they don't dare to put any NATO forces in. But why the hell is no one trying to start negotiating for peace? And Putin is a better tactician than all of these people together.
Right.
And Russia is used to suffering, and the people still love Putin, even if they suffer. And Russia, of course, remember that the countries that sanction Russia represent about 15% of the world population. So you have, major areas of the world that are still on Russia's side, or certainly not against them, and they can continue to buy Russian energy and Russian produce.
Yeah.
So you're not going to kill Russia or make them go bankrupt by these sanctions, because the markets are today free markets, and they can sell to China, and China can sell on to other countries. They can sell to obviously India and to Africa, South America, etc. So and since there is a massive energy need around the world, there will be demand for their products. And remember that also Russia has the biggest energy reserves in the world.
Right.
About $75 trillion. They're Russia, and since we're now moving into the era of energy and commodities moving up, they're going to be in a very strong financial and economic position.
Yeah. Are you surprised with everything going on in the world? I got the gold chart up on the screen here. We're in the low 1700 area right now. With everything going on in the world, are you surprised gold is not responding more strongly?
Yeah, of course, it's ridiculous. It makes no sense whatsoever. Gold is massively undervalued. But I'm not a speculator. We have been into gold for wealth preservation purposes for 20 years, roughly, since $300. And to a much smaller extent into silver also since that time, but because we're really focused on gold as a wealth preservation asset. And I know I've been living through many of these periods when you have quick rises or a cycle of 8-10 years of gold going up, and then you have maybe 10 years of correction or sideways. So I'm not impatient. I know I am old, so obviously I can't wait too long, but I don't think I have to wait too long. I don't think it's going to be too much longer. I think when the stock market goes down now next time, I don't expect gold to go down. Might go down a little bit in sympathy initially, but I think they're going to go in opposite direction.
Right.
For the simple reason that stock market is going down because the world economy is collapsing, and gold is going to go up because the world economy is collapsing. And a lot of money printing will be needed. So I am not the slightest bit concerned. But yes, of course, it is annoying that these paper markets are managing to hold gold down. I mean, governments are working hard at that to pretend that all is quiet on the Western Front, but it certainly isn't, and we're going to see that. And once the metals move, we know how silver can move, of course, but also gold. When the move starts again, I think the markets will be shocked. It will go very fast. But I think that gold and silver will do more than just go up in line with the purchasing power. I think they will go up a lot more, because I think they are now massively undervalued. I mean, I show every now and then the gold price in relation to money supply, U.S. money supply, and it's at the same level as 1971 when gold was $35, and as at 2000 when gold was $300. So, really? so in relation to the money created in the U.S. And over time, gold just reflects, a stable purchasing power, and right now it doesn't. So yes, it's going to come, but gold is right now. You're not going to hold gold or silver for speculative purposes. You're holding the metals because you need to protect your wealth. And this is what you and we believe in, but the rest of the world, that only, we know that there's only 0.5% of gold, for example, of world financial assets, or world financial assets. Only 0.5% of world financial assets are in gold. So nobody's investing in it, and nobody's going to, even when it starts going up, gold and silver, it'll only be a small percentage of speculators that are going to go into, and it'll be a long time before people realize that they actually need it to preserve their wealth. It'll be a long time, because everybody will still think that the stock market is just another correction. It's going to bounce back again, and therefore most investors will ride these markets all the way to the bottom. And my view is that we are going to see stock markets going down by, probably 95% before this is over. Certainly in real terms, but even in nominal terms, possibly. So you're going to see there's going to be a big fall. And it would have to be an adjustment.
That's why a lot of us do invest in the metals, because we, no matter what, once the currencies collapse, once confidence is gone and the currencies completely collapse, which doesn't seem like such a shocking prediction to make at this point, right? No one would be really shocked by it happening in the next couple of years. You want to have some hard asset that's going to have value in the next currency. And because there is going to be a next currency after this. At some point, people are, gold and silver and other hard assets, but gold and silver traditionally have been ways to do that. So, your words, we're singing we're preaching to the choir here on Wall Street Silver. Our audience is on the same page as you. And
you're right, but I wish, for the sake of a lot of people, that we could make the choir bigger, not for our sake, but for the people that that needs the protection. But sadly, the gold and silver and commodities in general. I mean, oil will be a very good commodity to own also, but that's not for normal people.
It's tough to store enough of that in my garage.
Yeah, it is, and it goes off also, unfortunately. Oil you can only have for 6 months or or 6 to 12 months. So it's not a good thing to store. So therefore, gold you can store for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Egon, thank you very much for joining us again. We really appreciate it. And of course, we're going to have you back in the next 3 months or so to get an update from you.
Yes, a lot could happen in the next 3 months. So it'll be very interesting. And so, I mean, I always believe that this period that we're now getting closer to was going to happen. And the intellectually will be very interesting to study, because it's an event that's never happened in history before. But of course, from a human point of view, it will be horrible for the world. So that is not something to look forward to. I mean, I told gold investors and silver investors that don't wish for the metals to go up, because because the quality of your life will be very different when they do.
Yeah.
So that's a dilemma for you know, you got, because gold and silver is going to reflect, but at least, you know, if the financial system is destroyed, then it's good to have some insurance.
Well, you know, I don't think no one's really cheering for it to happen, but the reason we invest in this is because we expect it to happen, and
Right.
we're trying to protect ourselves as much as possible from that eventual outcome. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Well, thank you very much, Egon, and we'll talk again in the near future.
Yes, thanks. Good to talk to you both. See you soon.